Welcome back, everyone, to the North American Challengers League. Sorry about the laugh. Lennon was just a little bit in a rush to make it here and get back.
I made it. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Not a sweat at all.
No, he's going to start sweating now because it's so hot in his room.
It is very hot in my room, but, you know, we struggle for beauty, and we got to have the jackets on today.
So I want to say, because I have been stressing this a bit, that these provisional teams, these matches between them, they meet quite a bit because of the nature of playoffs and every team's going to be there. It changes how your redemption arc is going to flow through. You know, to clarify this to some of our viewers, the bottom 4 teams in playoffs will have to face the relegation promotion tournament, which means for teams like TLF, there's still hope for them. You know, they can have a late season boom. You can finish dead last in the regular season and still avoid relegations through good playoffs performance. That's what this league is meant for, development and improvement, and that's what we want to see out of each and every one of our NACL players. But let's continue with the day, shall we? From provisional showdowns to challengers warfare, we have IMTC versus C9C. Now, for this one, I'm pretty excited because I saw these rosters at the start of the season, and this is one of the showdowns that I was just itching for, Mazel.
Hey, I mean, you've got a lot to be itching for this matchup, especially that mid lane. I know it's going to take a lot of the forefront today, but it's definitely going to be about, you know, Chad, Tobio, and how they work this early game into these solo lanes as well as bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, we got potentially the most hype mid lane matchup I think we've seen in a while, right? And the way that these two mid laners play is also super, super different. And I can't wait to kind of get into how both these players are really going to showcase what they can for their team. But we also have to kind of, you know, look at the elephant in the room. One of these teams is 12-4. One of these teams is 7-9. We're going to also have to take a little bit of a look on all the difference going through there. And is that your timer in order to be
It was
back?
my timer for the break.
Well, now you're back at the very least.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus there, Joshi. Appreciate you.
I mean, the audience heard it too, so they know what's going on.
He throws everyone under the bus, Mazel. We've already seen it before.
I know. Yeah.
It's a signature trait of Josh. This is why this Valentine's is now going completely awry, Josh. I blame you.
You're welcome.
Well, let's start.
I'm still in love with him. I don't know what you're talking about.
That. Zell, come on now. Come to my side. I'm here with you, bro.
I'm between you guys. What are you talking about?
Let's pull up the rosters. Let's start off with Immortals Challengers coming at you right now. I mean, Immortals, as of lately, they've had a favorable strength of schedule, and you've seen them pick up significantly more wins through that. It's allowed IMTC to kind of find their stride and find their strengths through Balulu and Wixie, which has clearly indicated they do have hands, Josh.
Yeah, I definitely look at this. What are you laughing about, Lenny?
Just they do have hands.
They do have hands. They were, in fact, born with them. But on the other side, it does feel like Immortals Progressive. This is a team where I'm actually kind of surprised at where they are in the standings, right? If you just look at all the number of players that are here, you have multiple people on this roster who have been to Worlds. You have Chad, Wixie, Joe, who are all a couple of players that we've been excited about. The fact that they're 7-9, it's definitely a position where we would expect them to be doing a little bit better than they have off the bat. And to me, it feels a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have been a little bit less coordinated than a lot of the other teams, partly because they have been thrown together relatively last minute, and with Balulu coming in after a couple of weeks, where a lot of the other teams have been together for a little longer.
Now, to me, this next roster, Cloud9, they're kind of the anti-heroes of the league. We were kind of talking about this behind the scenes a little bit. I feel like MNS is the Sephiroth of NACL for any of you Final Fantasy fans out there. I mean, all your favorite mid laners have been spiked by this guy, man. This is compounded by the fact that every lane on top of that is killing it, Mazel.
I think that's the strongest point is, yes, you do have this insane potential for mid lane, all the solo kills racked up over time from M&S, but it's also been that team around him that's been using that and facilitating that. That's where the strong points really shine through for Cloud9.
Now, this is a little bit of a familiar matchup, not in NACL, but in TCL, a little bit of a Turkish showdown, something waiting in the wings. I know Balulu has been waiting for this, so we have a clip of that. Let's pull up that interview.
Nice. Is there anybody that you're particularly looking forward to play as either a team or other mid laner?
C9 probably.
Cloud9.
I'll play against MNS, yeah.
How would you rank yourself compared to a lot of the other LCS challengers?
I know MNS, Pretty, Insanity, but I think they're good players. especially MNS. I played against MNS in TCL before. We went up against each other a lot. Yeah, I think it's a decent level on the mid laners for sure. Like it's pretty stacked to be academy and challenger. So it's fun. It's definitely fun to play.
Now, I know Eric and Lennon probably never heard that interview, so I'll let you know what exactly he said. I was asking him at the time about like the different mid laners he was excited about playing and who he actually knew, and he named a couple of them, right? He said Insanity, he said, I believe it was Copy, and then he also said Immortals, and he was like, I'm looking forward to playing Immortals. We used to play quite a bit back in the Turkish league, but looking back at their history, I believe they only played 2 games against each other, and one of them, Balulu was playing support. He was playing support Nautilus in that game, and it was definitely one of the ones where Immortals had a great time. And so, as we kind of zoom in on these 2 mid laners, the big thing to kind of know is that Balulu is a nutty team fighter, and obviously is one of the best artillery mage players that we have in the entire league. And it's definitely a spot where I feel like Immortals might be able to get the better of them in the laning phase, because Immortals is an insane duelist, but also has like some kind of wild moments to where they look kind of bafflingly like struggling during a lot of these fights, but also has moments where they look like a genius.
I mean, Balulu has been this fun player to watch, and has been justifying their place within Immortals. I mean, we had questions on the imports, both being ADD and Balulu at the start of the season, just because of the nature of the import slot. It's such a valuable one. And Balulu has been making such a strong case for himself. Gotta love to see it. MNS, however, absolutely terrifying, man. Mazel, you want to get in on this?
Dude, I had to go through all these clips because I was doing that thing for On the Range where we went through like all of his solo kills, and it is terrifying to watch this man. And some of the solo kills, yes, were kind of funny things like the end of games against supports, whatever it is, but the amount of just straight up mechanical 1v1 solo kills, in team fight solo kills, picking out a crucial member of the backline, he has the killer instinct that you need to have, and that's why Cloud9 picked him up.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, 2 very different players coming at it yet again. They've played against each other in the past, so this is going to be another opportunity for them to showcase what they can actually do. And so, as we kind of get ready for this, one of the things that I've been so excited about watching between these 2 players is, again, like the differences between the kind of champions they like to play, right? Balulu is so good at artillery managers and the Silas in particular, whereas Immortals is so much better on these assassin-style players.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of a dichotomy we're going to be seeing in the draft today.
I'm kind of feeling like I should have made a super heavyweight showdown for this matchup in specific. Kind of missed the opportunity there, but we're not going to miss this draft. I'm going to throw it over to Mazel and Josh. You guys, go ahead. Here you go. Here you go. Mazel, please.
I'm open.
Don't encourage him.
Touchdown!
Take it away.
We're going to draft, baby! So it's IMT Challengers.
Ever since Rafa started doing that, it's gotten all of you guys.
Every single one of us.
Every
single one. It's like a play, Nagoshi.
My puns are bad, but that is the worst.
Welcome to the dark side. Anyways, we are into IMT Challengers on the blue side here with that Elise ban targeting over on Tomio, that aggressive stance in the early parts. C9, though, they got their eyes on Wixie as they're going to ban away his Draven. The response is that Nami. So we're getting down to the more, I guess, spice of life picks in the ADC roll down there.
Yes, we're going to see my favorite spices of life, Varus and Ashe. I can't
No
wait.
Zeri.
Maybe Caitlyn. No,
We haven't really
get a
seen Zeri
Zeri.
at
You might
all.
get a Zeri in there. I mean, it kind of has fallen off the meta a little bit, but going back into this, right, this is going to be a game where we are going to be spending most of our time looking at the mid lane between Balulu and Immortals. But the other things that we kind of have to look at is also Chad and Tomio, right? The 2 junglers who are going to be supporting them throughout most of the game. Chad has been a player that has been absolutely wild in the early game. One of the few players who actually will go for a lot of these invades. Last year, I remember the discussion was, it's not a question of if Chad will gank in the first couple of minutes. It's a question of how many camps will he do first. He can do 1 camp, 2 camp, or 3 camps, and then gank. And I feel like this is the perfect meta to actually let him do that.
Oh my god, we actually are going to get the Zeri Lulu, I bet. Maybe we'll see C9 take it away. But we'll see if that kind of plays into it. Because IMT, one of the biggest proud points I feel like I've had is the fact that they are opting into, yes, Balulu being amazing in mid lane, but it's been a lot of resources to Chad in draft, right? And we've seen him be comfortable picking up the Rengar as well as like his signature picks, but also trying to facilitate Balulu a little bit. And it's looking like it's going to be an opt-in to the latter, as Sejuani is the first pick for IMTC.
Yeah, and that signals that Sylas is a very likely pick here for Balulu.
Yeah.
We've already said that it was one of the better champions that he is able to play. His ability to select targets is one of the best from a lot of the mid laners and a lot of the players in this series that we've seen. Now that said, we also cannot discount the fact that Lost and Zeyzal have been some of the best 2v2 bottom laners we've seen in the league as well. We were just praising Lynx and Skytech, but if there's anybody that can like beat up on every single lane, it's probably going to be Lost and Zeyzal. And this is a couple of champions that have been very good early on in the game and really fighting with things like the Lucian and Nami, and I kind of wonder if that means that Wixie and Joey are going to be shifting over now that the Draven's off the table to the Caitlyn Lux kind of thing.
I do wonder, because I would love to see an opt-in to aggressive bot lane. I think Wixie and Joey have really found the groove when they get an advantage bot lane, but the Varus has been a very, very high rise in priority for a lot of ADCs in the Challengers League, and that's going to be the opt-in here for IMT. We'll see their final pick of the first phase, see if they want to just go ahead and grab this bottom lane outright, leave a lot of the bans to the second phase here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that Varus is really good at is the fact that when you pick it, you are actually saying, like, I'm going to play one of 4 champions. I can play Crit Varus, I can play AP Varus, I can play On-Hit Varus, I can play Lethality Varus. They all do slightly different things. So we are going to be seeing that the Varus is snagged up in a very strong top side of the map, already grabbed with the Cassante and the Sejuani.
That
and now
combo
Tomio
is just so dirty.
Yeah, it's just, there's so many good champions that Sejuani pairs with right now. As long as melees are good in either the top lane or the mid lane, Sejuani will always be playable. And so we'll see what they try and do here in the next couple of picks, as Tomio going back to one of the most classic picks that they have been seeing, and as the only rookie coming through on the Cloud9 Challengers roster, it is definitely another position where, like, they've been looking so much better, just due to the fact that they have so much veteran guidance, and all of these players know when to call Tomio to their lanes.
And that's something that I feel like is a vast difference from when we've seen Tomio over on Evil Geniuses, and that's where some of that comfort has really come alive for Tomio. Again, we saw him in the interviews. It just feels like he's a little bit more himself, and it seems like it's that direction from the team. You have powerful voices on the team in Zeyzal, as well as even Lost. When we were talking with Zeyzal, he has a lot of aggressive forward direction for the team. So I'm very interested to see this continued meshing, because Tomio's already looked so good for Cloud9.
Yeah.
We are into the second phase, though. We get the Kassadin ban by IMTC against M&S, and then the Karma ban also joining the table here.
Yeah. With the Kassadin ban, it kind of goes back, right? We were saying that the Sejuani made the Sylas one of the more likely things to come out. Kassadin is decent into Sylas, but the big thing is that Kassadin is really good into a lot of the artillery majors that Balulu likes to play, right? So it does kind of open up a lot more opportunities. And so Jimenez, I mean, one of the things that we are constantly seeing from this guy is his willingness to play kind of odd things, right? He was a huge Zeri player back in the day in the mid lane as well, but I feel like he's going to want to try and challenge Balulu relatively early on in the game, especially because he knows how strong Balulu is later.
Yeah, and especially seeing the Akali ban last by IMT, I'm very curious at what we actually get now for M&S. Obviously, his LeBlanc is on the table. I think the last time he played, he didn't actually have that great of a time on it, but Fake God will be on the Gnar. They're getting some serious team fight setup for Cloud9 Challenger.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tools available. I mean, Teemo and Zadar actually really hard, and if anyone would do it, it would be ADD, but it is going to be the Sylas going over to Balulu, and now we have to showcase what the bottom lane will actually be playing. Joey will be grabbing the Caitlyn, and so this could either be either way, right? You can play both these characters in the support role, and we'll see which one they actually choose to go for. On the other hand, Jimenez now gets last pick. He gets to decide what he wants to play into Sylas, and I kind of expected Tristana as one of the forerunning things, one of the things that has been popping up in popularity and has a fantastic matchup. But this is something else that Jimenez has also had a lot of success on so far, is the Vex. And it's a great way to kind of stop a lot of your opponent's plays and also have a ton of opportunity to kind of set the agenda when it actually comes to fights later on.
Yeah, and the connection with Tomio on the Wukong is going to be super strong as well, into the combos of, obviously Chad working with the double melee solo lanes. But the big side eye for me for IMTC is this continued focus on double ADCs, a lot of the very strong aggressive bottom lanes for IMTC, and how Wixie and Joey are going to pilot this push in your face bot lane of the Varus and Caitlyn into something that's so stable and has been so centric in the Zeri and Lulu.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've kind of been seeing up against Lost and Zeyzal as the season is going on, teams are opting more and more into, I'm going to smash your face in with this
Try
kind of
to, at
lane,
least.
right? But that's the thing, right? Is Lost and Zeyzal, they're that good. They're so much better than a lot of the other bottom lanes that we have as a pair that they were able to turn around a lot of these situations that which would be hard losing and turn them into even winning positions. So Lost and Zeyzal are just absolutely blowing up a lot of these, and if Tomio comes down, it's definitely going to be a winning 3v3.
That's the ticket. And you got to see where that kind of early dictation of pathing is going to be for both Chad and Tomio, who I think themselves, as I said, going into draft, have a lot of influence on early game machinations for both teams and leading into those insane performances that we see from Balulu and M&S on both sides. Now I'm going to do my best Deserex impression, so get ready with your ears. Because welcome to the heavyweight smackdown of IMTC versus C9C. It's Balulu versus Jimenez.
Give a little bit more backstory for them.
I got a good job from Deserex.
All right.
So
well,
that's all
we'll take that. We'll take that.
No, it is a very big
accolades
point here. Yeah, I didn't want to take over too much.
The Turkish champion from
I'm not as good
2021.
as Deserex. We're gonna leave that over there.
Galatasaray star mid laner.
We talked a
best
little bit
Joey in
about
the
the
world.
outside characters, right? We talked a little bit about bot lane. We talked a bit about the facilitation from jungle, but it is all about the spotlight on mid lane. And I would love to take this moment to kind of, before we have these fisticuffs going at it, get a little bit of that background. We saw the video earlier that you put out, Joshi, and kind of talking about this duo between them and what they've seen against each other before.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely one of these bottom lanes that has been, we haven't seen a ton of heads-up play against them, but from what I understand from Balulu, these two teams, is Galatasaray and, oh man, I can't remember what it was that Menace was playing at the time. Joey's here? All right, that's funny.
A little bit. All right. Hello,
Okay.
How do you do?
But yeah, they oftentimes used to scrim up against each other back when both of these guys were still in the Turkish league, and Balulu ended up going to Worlds in the year that MNS was actually in Turkey, right? And it was another position where Balulu was generally considered one of the best, especially artillery mages, but also just one of the best players in the entire league. I was talking to him about his journey over here, and he was saying, like, yeah, I was so highly prized in the Turkish league that I was actually one of the highest paid players over there. I'm taking a bit of a pay cut to come here to North America because I am so convinced I'll be able to find my way to LCS.
That's the dream, at least, and I love to hear a little bit of that background, but definitely a big setup. We already had heard from Balulu multiple times how much he's been looking forward to go against M&S, and now it is time to prove for both mid laners, as we do have a little bit of opposite side starts for both junglers. It is actually Chad playing very aggressively in this first path clearing. Looks like Tomio's going to play a little bit of that reservation there. But we're definitely looking at this trading bot lane to see who's going to eke out a little bit of that advantage if Wixie and Joey, back to that point we made in draft, are going to find anything.
Yeah. I also got to say, I haven't played a Caitlyn support recently, but when I played it in the past, when it was considered not good, one of the most fun things about this lane for Joey is oftentimes going for all these auto attacks. You kind of poke and prod at people, and you go boop, 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 and you don't have to worry about CSing, so you're entirely just trying to use the massive range to eke out these small advantages. But to their credit, Lost and Zeyzal, I mean, they did have to use the heal early on, but they've kind of struggled to get anything after that. And now ADD going for this proxy, it's getting collapsed upon.
He can make his way out of here doing Cassante things. Thank God getting knocked back. My God. Will Flash gets the flash out of Tomio. He's trying to close the distance. M&S has shown up, though, and everybody's coming to say hi to ADD. As the fear comes through, he dashes out. Maybe he survives. Tomio needs to go for it. Gets first blood for Cloud9 Challengers.
I'm a little bit unsure what the plan was from ADD there, I must be honest. So Jimenez already going to be the first one on the board and is not going to be losing hardly anything in the mid lane based on how well they pushed out earlier on. But ADD, yes, you're proxying, but you know your jungler is on the far side of the map. You don't have any reason to believe that Tomio is going to be going bottom lane relatively early on, and so it ends up just getting punished from the roam from both the jungler and the mid laner coming through, and I think that might be what took him off guard. The fact that Jimenez was able to move up at the same time.
Really good early moves from Cloud9. That's some of that really good early shot calling that we've seen, and talking with, you know, Zeyzal in some interviews, but also messaging some of them as well. It has been about, like, how do they dictate early game? Where do these clean calls come from, and committing to it together? And we're starting to see that really be that 4 point. Even if Cloud9 Challengers has not had the best weekend this weekend, right? They went 1-1 yesterday. They went 0-2 the day before. I think that you still see the strength that is there because of the structure behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely still a strong roster. And didn't they beat Team Liquid Challengers 2-0 on Saturday?
Was it the other way? Maybe I read it the wrong way. I had it because the updates are not on Leaguepedia, so I went to the LOL Esports website.
Fair. And it's also
it was 2. Yep, it was 2.
Yeah,
so it was last
okay.
week of the 0-2. But it was the 2-0
they lost
for
a
TL
wild card
Challengers.
before. I was going to say, like, I thought Cloud9 had a pretty
Doing them
decent weekend so far.
They did go 1-1 against Golden Guardians yesterday, and that game too was a nice little comeback from Golden Guardians. So
For sure.
again, it goes back to that kind of structure that Cloud9 have found through the voice of Zeyzal, through the aggressiveness of Lost, but as well as Tomio being kind of a clay mold, and it's been really nice for them.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching the growth of Tomio over the years, as it has been a player where everybody knows that they are very mechanically talented, but it's all about how well you can move him around the map, right? And this is a team where, with him being the youngest member, the most rookie member of the squad, you know, it's definitely a great spot, right? Everybody's kind of been saying it's about kind of moving Tomio around on the map and making sure that he's actually on the same page with the rest of the team. But so far, this game's going quite well, and Lost and Zeyzal, as we were saying, like, this is a pretty even situation considering how tough this laning phase is normally supposed to be. The fact that IMT have gotten 2 plates already is most of the reason why this game is still relatively even gold.
I really do love to see Wixie and Joey executing this bottom lane a little bit more, as well as the capitalization on the pressure in bottom lane to get IMTC that first dragon is setting them up. Yeah. But I still need to see maybe some more of that push in be rewarded, get more plates down here, continue to push that advantage, because as we said from draft, right, the combination right now for Cloud9 and the late game in these team fights is going to be impressive.
Yeah. So here we go. This is going to be one of the big moments for ADD, right? Even though they died early on, this is around the time when ADD is supposed to be very strong in this lane, before Fate God gets all the extra movement speed to come in from things like the upgraded boots, the Trinity Force, and Blue finds an engage.
Getting a little bit of 1v1 action here, trying to take down MNS. Does get a decent amount of damage back. Not going to find that full-on kill. They still have the flash on both sides. First strikes stacking up here for them, trying to get as much gold as possible. And we'll just be back to that kind of lane state farming here for both sides, where Chad and Tomio, where normally we see Chad very aggressive in his pathing, took that early foray, but hasn't found anything since.
And you know what, Lennon? We just said that the mid lane was kind of boring and just kind of farming. That's a big win for Balulu, right? This matchup is pretty brutal to actually play as the Silas half of it. And yes, Amenes roamed up and gave Balulu a little bit more free time in the lane, but he is currently even up against the best duelist in the entire league, right? Amenes would have solo killed about half the mid laners in this league, and Balulu is still, I mean, down like half a wave.
Yeah.
But that's a really good spot to be in.
Oh, they're getting aggressive on the bot lane, though. Lost with that aggressive forward motion. We'll be looking at Joey. Barrier popped here. Chad coming down. Tomio will be spotted out. Gives him the thumbs up here. Tomio trying to get onto Wixie. Cyclone out. Tomio flashing. Tomio down. Wixie. First blood for IMTC.
Huge knockout from Chad coming through to stop anything that Tomio was actually trying to do. Lost and Zeyzal not in a position to actually help him out. And great stuff coming out from the bottom 3v3 coming out from IMT, evening up the gold a little bit, and also starting to accelerate Wixie. Like, he's going for this lethality build. He needs to be ahead in order to be strong.
I do want to go back to that initial 2v2, obviously, before the jungles got in here. It was so interesting to see, obviously, Wixie and Joey playing the way they go, but as soon as that Chains of Corruption came out, Lost and Zayda were like, we're going. We're getting some damage down because they did miss that engage.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things about Zoe Lulu is, especially once Lost or the Zeri hits level 6, you're so much more aggressive. You're so much better able to find a lot of these kills, and as everybody backs away, we'll see what kind of builds can actually come through. Lost and Zayzal faking it back. But as you called out, right, throwing out this chain of corruption in order to try and get this fight started, Lost hits level 6 basically at the exact same time and instantly uses it. Because Joey, I mean, he's getting ranged very effectively by Lost. Lost is doing such a good job every single time they go for one of these plays, and as Lost hits level 6, he is going all in. They have the extra movement speed to try and keep up with Joey, and the big thing is just Joey has the barrier to make sure that they do not go down, but Tomio standing here on a ward. Watch the knockup, instantly stopping Tomio. Tomio's trying to get the extra auto attack in for the armor shred before they actually start using the Cyclone. Chad interrupts that, and that's why Wixie is able to flash out.
We did see in the picture-in-picture that Chad, still being proactive on the map, gets a Rift Herald for IMTC. I do wonder if they just want to try to get this bottom lane down. I mean, they've already almost taken 3 turret plates, and Chad on his way here as well.
Yeah, ADD also coming at the same time, as they're just trying to move around the map a little bit more. And this is where we're starting to get into more Balulu territory. When fights are getting ready to start, is Lost forced out of the lane a little bit. We have 20 seconds coming up for the next dragon, and this one is actually very helpful for Balulu and ADD in particular, who rely so much on their movement speed.
Another plate down in bottom lane for Joey and Wixie. As Tomio might make a visit, might stop by for some tea. Cloud9 down here. I do see, though, Chad on his way as a response, and it literally has just been clear camps, come back bot lane, see if they can get anything. Look mid, is there anything happening? All right, go back to clearing camps. But Chad needs to be a little bit of that proactivity with this Rift Herald.
Yeah, it's been a much more tempered version of Chad in 2023 as ADD.
I mean, tempered. I casted 2 of his Rengar games. That man was trying to pop off even if they were losing. I think there's some spice and there's some reservation. That's where I was interested here.
Yeah. Compared to last year, where every game was spice, you know, it is a more tempered, right?
The fact that he's on Sejuani is just its own statement.
Yeah, you never would have seen Chad on this kind of character last year. I mean, they played the Wukong because it was kind of aggressive, but now IMT going to be grabbing the second dragon for themselves, and it's not often that teams are getting the better of Cloud9 in the early game, right? Seeing that their lanes are doing quite well, that they have committed to having a lead down here in the bottom lane, and the fact that, again, Balulu is going even and, you know, going with what some people have been dubbing the vegetarian or the herbivore build on the Sylas does mean that they will be tankier, and it will also be able to have more damage later in exchange for damage now.
I still do think, though, that Cloud9 are just sitting pretty for themselves. I mean, they have so much strength in those late game team fights we said earlier that yes, they're not getting that same kind of control they normally get, but I think that when we're looking holistically, there hasn't been enough of an advantage gained in bottom lane to really pay dividends against this Zeri Lulu, who literally will be terrifying. Yeah. We are getting a look at that gold as well.
We are. Chad, interestingly enough, choosing not to drop the Rift Herald as Wixie and Joey are saying, hey, don't take any of our plates gold. This is ours.
We can get this ourselves.
We got it. Yeah, and they have gotten 4 plates. That's a fair amount of gold, but as you already called out, right, that is basically the difference between the 2 teams in terms of how much money both of them have. And Joey, okay, does recognize that they are going to be on a ward and would not be able to pull off that entire back. The game is kind of stagnated a little bit. And so, on the one hand, that is good for Balulu versus M&S. On the other hand, that is very good for Lost and Zeyzal, right? The fact that they are still up in CS with Chad looking to mid.
Oh, nice flash from M&S will get him out of the glacial prison of Chad. Chad just trying to make a visit mid lane. Tomio will be here as well.
Yeah, honestly, I love the fact that Jimenez, it looked like he waited to see the ultimate come out from Chad, right? That's the whole reason why you use the Arctic Assault first, is to reduce the distance, make it easier to hit, and give them less time to react. Jimenez looked like they waited well.
Oh, Tomio found Joey. Joey not the tankiest as the double ADC composition. We do see that Rift Herald try to be guided into the mid lane as my speed is freezing a little bit here. I'm not actually able to fight.
Oh, they get the first one. Jimenez trying to go back in, trying to find Balulu, but not able to do it. Jimenez flashing forward will go down to the attacks from Wixie. The Rift Herald crashes at the same time, Lennon. That's just an unequivocal win. Balulu is able to go on in and get enough damage down onto Tommy that Jimenez doesn't have enough damage left to turn it around. Remember, the Rod of Ages coming through.
That Rod of Ages, obviously that late stacking for him, and really, really good movements to get Rixie a couple kills early on as well. Just that gold going over to IMTC.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, the way that Balulu is able to kind of navigate this ultimately has been quite well, right? This is one of the places where, we're starting back a little far, but Balulu will pick up the Cyclone here, taking it away from Tomio as Tomio tries to find their way onto Joey. But the big thing is when Menace actually goes for the re-engage, that's when things kind of go from being okay to a little bit hairy for Cloud9, right? And Menace really needs to land a couple of these skill shots in order to actually get the counter kill onto Balulu, who's just trying to pick up a little bit of a pick as all the players are lining up. Right, and as they start to go in, watch how Balulu recognizes these guys are a little bit too far forward. We're going to try and pick up the monkey first, but you just need to get both of them. And as he gets out, as the Menace goes back in, it's all about the dodge and the heal that's coming out from the bottom lane of IMT, having more friends and saving Balulu's life. Friends
are important. That's the lesson we've learned the day before Valentine's Day, and maybe a little bit of respect here as well as IMTC. Definitely leading into that one. ADD will take the first tower on the side lane, and IMT, they continue to stack up this early advantage. 2,000 gold in the lead now.
Yeah. They're also getting a fantastic side lane matchup for Balulu as well. Silas into Gnar, super, super difficult for the Gnar to actually pilot. It's one of the reasons why I've been not thrilled with the amount of Gnar that has been in the meta, despite being a massive enjoyer of the champion myself. It is very, very difficult.
You sound upset he's spaghetti.
I'm not upset. I'm just kind of like, why?
Not disappointed. You're just mad.
Confused.
Or you're not mad. You're just disappointed. Let's see Wixie. Oh, early flash from Zeyzal does make sure that Wixie cannot land that chain of corruption.
I'm pretty confident that Zeyzal thought that the hail of arrows was the chain of corruption.
Is that what you're gonna go with? You're not gonna give
that's what it looked like to
doubt?
me, right? He was trying to dodge out from what he thought was the ultimate, but it could just be like any skill shot. Like that's the
what I would think.
Glacial Prison. Like that's also a kill, but look where Balulu's teleporting to.
I mean, this is sole point for IMT, and they're trying to get a pick beforehand. They do. Immortals. No, he tanks it up. He's surviving. He gets the wild growth as well. Here comes Balulu. He's thirsty for blood, but he can't get him. ADD pulls Tomio out of the fight. Wow. Now the blast cone gets him out. No ace in the hole. Will get the rest of the damage from ADD. And the Cassante goes up yet again. IMT pounce when the moment is right.
Radiant Virtue keeping Chad alive, a little bit of extra HP, but Amena's coming back, but with no ult, Vex is a shadow of her former self.
See them here as Dragon about half health now. Fake God trying to stack up this Mega Gnar, but he can't do so. Balulu, no stolen ultis. You still have Lost with his lightning crash. Amena's getting caught out a little bit here. And a lot of poke damage coming from Joey into the pit, though. Fake God, it is secured by Chad. No smite was there, but the big Mega Gnar ulti. And what did I say? You gotta respect the damage. A double kill for Lost and a fight win for C9, even if they lost to Dragon.
Yeah, IMT, I mean, they're really looking to try and pick up the objective. And now Wixie and Balulu setting up a little bit of a trap for Fake God. Gonna respect it as well.
Yesterday, we found out that this is called Spot the Inter from Seoul on broadcast. So, that's how I refer to it.
I like it. That sounds like a Jensenism as well. But this Dragon, right, it takes IMT quite a while to actually DPS it down because it is a lethality virus and not like a crit virus. And they spend a lot of time trying to poke out Cloud9. And when they actually go in, I'm a bit surprised at how low Chad lets it get before smiting it. But IMT...
A triple.
Yeah. That's the big thing, right? Fake God had enough time because IMT weren't committed to burning it. That Fake God does actually have the opportunity to take his Viagra and become Mega Gnar.
If we get another three-man Mega Gnar
you picked up on what I said. It took a while.
If we get another three-man Mega Gnar ulti, I'm going to need you to say Nargaga. I'm just going to have to make you do it on broadcast.
We'll save that for when Fake God has
make you love Gnar again, all right? I'll make you love Gnar again. But IMT, see, they are trying to stay away from that Mega Gnar. Next time that setup will not be so happy. But it is just kind of that low period. Now looking and pinging down bot lane is IMTC, but they will be spotted out in transition by these wards.
Yeah. The big thing to kind of pay attention to, right, is the fact that another Mountain Dragon, like the Mountain Soul is like already like just because... And when I say that, I mean like the soul itself, like the shield, it's kind of whatever, right? The shield is nice in most situations, but going up against Lost, it loses a lot of the value. But the one thing that it does do is it really makes the alpha strike of Jimenez and Tomio a lot weaker. It's a lot more difficult for them to blow somebody up immediately.
Oh no, Joey! You gotta be careful. M&S coming in as well. Tomio gets the kill. Chad now in the sights of C9. Chad getting low. Flash forward from Lost gets the kill.
Solos.
You do have to watch out on the side though. Meganar gets unstoppable by ADD. Balulu gets his own Meganar, but then he gets bursted down. The all out from ADD, not even gonna get him out of there. As gunned down, Lost is on a rampage.
Wow, the expert spreading coming out from Cloud9, and nobody going down in that last fight because they do such a good job at picking apart the members of IMT. They're setting up, and the Baron is just now spawning. Joey and Wixie the only ones who can do anything about it. Chad cannot get here in time, and Cloud9, you give them an inch and they take a mile.
What did we say? It's about the scaling. I mean, they're at 20 minutes now. They don't even have second items, but they're looking like a team fight comp already. And it's been that execution, the mechanics from this team, that aggression from Lost and Zazel down there. And I just have to bring something back here after this one, at least, after we look at this fight. But it has been so incredible to watch how Tomio is trying to set up a lot of these fights.
Yeah. The way that I always think about Tomio, my favorite thing I've seen from him is, that volley bear scream that he did a while back when he goes, rah, rah, and just like finds himself in the back instantly. This is that same kind of thing, right? Just getting yourself onto Joey, and it's part of why, there's a lot of detractors for the Caitlyn support. Is it's so squishy, and if you don't get a massive lead, it doesn't do a whole lot. We were also praising Balulu for the great team fighting before. Watch how everybody, as soon as Balulu walks into the brush, they all instantly back up. They know how dangerous it would be if they were to actually allow Balulu to get the turnaround knock.
So I know this is showing maybe a little bit of background, but I found it really interesting when we got an interview from Jackie Love over in the LPL, and he was talking about these double ADC bot lanes and how they are just feast or famine. Win that bottom lane, use that lead, or out of lane, you are just so squishy. You don't have that traditional setup of the support like C9 have going into these big 5-on-5.
Yeah, and it's definitely a position where now, when they don't have the lead,
they might get a side lane catch, though. M&S caught out on his own. Guess who gets the kill? It's Balulu. That one's going to feel good.
Yeah. Not really a team fight. That was definitely M&S being very far forward. But Balulu now has no ultimate. There's no easy way for them to engage outside of the chain of corruption. So we can watch Wixie for a little bit, see if Cloud9 can find anything further. But ADD, why are you backing?
A little bit scared, maybe.
What?
Had that wave up there pushing top, but not able to continue pushing in. Now we have Dragon Soul for IMTC, but C9 are in position with that Baron buff not being really utilized here.
Yeah, that's definitely a position where if ADD had teleport, ADD absolutely needs to start that, but IMT with no ultimate is going to be giving this over, and that's actually a very dangerous dragon to be giving over, right? The Mountain is by far the single best dragon to get, just because of how much tankier makes you every single time. Each one is worth an absolute ton, and now they're trying to find, hey, it's another game with Spot the Inter.
I can't stop thinking about it every time I see them behind the bush now. They're trying to spot out M&S. They will be spotted out. See if he can get connected. Balulu connects the first one. M&S will be killed on bot side, will be killed on top side, and IMTC know where their focus is at.
Yeah. And this is one of the things, right? Because M&S is so focused on trying to find all of these duels, oftentimes not ready for the absolute Mondo gank that's going to be coming through from IMT on the other side. So they're going to be taking M&S down yet again. They're going to be stopping almost all of the Baron push that had come out from Cloud9, and they keep themselves in spitting distance of actually trying to recover this game. And so, one of the big things, right? Wixie and Joey never get super strong again from this position just because so much of their power is coming off of their base abilities, and they've already put all of the levels into the abilities that matter. But Balulu continues to get stronger as Tomio actually lets Wixie just leave.
Yeah, he's like, it's okay, Wixie.
It's okay.
I just wanted to make sure you're on your toes. He does. Wixie is on the second item, has that Dusk Blade as a second item. So interested to see how this build kind of progresses and how he gets influence in team fights, because again, it's just going to be so hard to deal with this meatball composition around Lost, who's just going to be raining down lightning.
Yeah, very true. Lost is going to be one of the big problems that IMT are going to have to deal with, and I'm looking at their tools to actually try and deal with it, right? Like, if ADD can find a good flank, like, that would be pretty good. Otherwise, it's very difficult for them to actually try and kill this area, right? They don't have
that's
a lot
3
of
items now, too.
That's 3 items, yeah. Has a shield bow and has a Lulu, right? Which is effectively an extra 2 items, right? This is effectively 5 items area.
That's okay. The math checks out. I'm not gonna tell you. You know, I've been told not to do math on air, so
yeah.
I'm just
Lulu
gonna take your
just like
peer-reviewed
an item and a half on their own. And suddenly having an incredibly powerful AD carry like that is very difficult for IMT to try and deal with. So looking at this next dragon is kind of like one of the big places where they can turn things around. They have some great tools in order to get a lot of damage across all at once. They've got a decent wombo combo, but it's not the easiest thing to always play for. And look at the vision control on the top side from both teams. Nobody's really committed to the bottom side yet.
Actually, mass movement from Cloud9. They were actually moving towards the top side to see if they could catch out the Lulu if he's stuck around. MNS not going to make those mistakes of overextending anytime soon after dying those 2 times. And it's just a little bit of map movement again, favoring Cloud9 as they move around together.
Have you ever played Summoner's Rift with Jensen Go?
I would think I have.
Yeah. You ever been in a game where you're like really far behind and you're like, all right, well, we gotta see if there's anybody who's inting over here, right? He would just
spot the inter.
Yeah, exactly. He's the guy who's always like, yeah, we need to go find a spot where we can just hide and find people who are pushed too far forward. But this is an early teleport coming up from MNS, and so the signals that they're trying to find a fight sooner than later. They are already playing for control over the map, and IMT has to give it to them.
Do they just force? I mean, Meganar's coming down now. I was going to say, do they just force a Baron on spawn? I would say Chad being here is definitely going to dissuade that a lot. Paycott is on his way up for a collapse in mid lane, but nothing really to collapse on. Got about 1 minute and 10 seconds for the next dragon. Again, 3 items completed for majority of the carries, but really looking at Balulu to finish that 3rd one as well. Not going to really have it here.
Wixie.
And MNS goes on to Wixie. And
hey, solo
that's
kill.
what happens. He gets another solo kill. Woo!
Are we at 30 yet? Are we at 30? Should have looked.
I don't know. I don't
Somebody
know.
on Twitter knows.
Well, somebody knows.
Let us know.
I'm sure Cloud9 knows. They are doing Baron now, though, as they do it so gosh darn fast. And actually a back coming out from Chad, dragging Noah around. So they're just going to get a reset, try to get back in front of this fight so they can get Mountain Soul for themselves.
Yeah, and they have control over both of the objectives. Balulu not able to. Again, the splitting that came out from Cloud9 earlier where Balulu was not able to collapse and get so many of the members in that stun. It's a big turning point for IMT previously, and now Cloud9 having picked off Wixie in that spot as well. I mean, we get to see what MNS plays for. He just plays to be like, hey, are you going to be silly? Are you going to walk up here? Or are you going to let me kill you? And so many times people don't respect that MNS is always just looking for these wild angles.
You kind of have to, though, on this Vex, and I've been really interested at how he's kind of been putting his in. I mean, that time around, just outright killing Wixie, but that's kind of what happens when MNS finds a squishy ADC, which there are 2 for IMTC. Looks like Chad is positioning around the back of this pit as Cloud9 still have a Baron up for 2 minutes, but utilizing not much of that. I guess try to get priority in mid lane, but just kind of waiting for IMT to move in.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9, they didn't notice that Wixie back, so Wixie comes back, should have another item completed. And now they're trying to make sure nobody's collapsing. Tomio does have a blast cone. He's going over.
Oh my god, Joey just instantly, oh no, it's catastrophe. A double knock up here. It's a front to back, but Balulu with a big Megadar in the back line. Balulu, he flashes over the wall, gets 1 kill, gets out, but it is Wixie who flashes out of MNS. He is not going to get killed yet again. It still feels like a holistic Cloud9 Challengers victory. They're going to take a tier 2 down bottom side, push with this Baron for another minute and 15 seconds into an inhib.
Wow, Cloud9 have done such a good job. We haven't even noticed this, but they're praying so much on the front line, right? That's ADD's 4th death of the game because they're constantly trying to find him out, recognizing when they're a little bit too far, and recognize that there's not a lot of DPS behind it, right? It's almost all the lethality has been built up for IMT, and Cloud9, they find another Mountain Dragon, and this is very rapidly approaching a point where IMT, they're almost entirely reliant on trying to find their way onto Lost and blowing him up when MNS is not nearby, and I think doing one of those things is possible. Doing both of them is very rapidly becoming ridiculous.
We do have third items on Balulu and Wixie now. I don't know how much that's going to help, as 3.5 items are coming across for Cloud9. But I still do see some of that potential in here if they find that big engage. But when you focus down like this front to back Cloud9, it's so difficult to find it. Balulu tried, and he got on the back line for a little while.
Yeah.
Got the one pick off, but that's all you can really find in those kinds of moments. So it's just very difficult for IMT to navigate. And this is the game plan from minute 1 for Cloud9 Challengers. They drafted this scaling comp. They said, we see you going this double ADC bottom lane. We know it's useless out of lane. We are going to take something that scales, something that can team fight really well, and they have all the setup they need.
So now Cloud9 is all about actually closing out the game. They have another, just under 3 minutes left before they can actually play for the next Baron, but Fake God is just taking control of the side lane. He's unkillable by ADD now without massive mistakes coming out from Fake God. So, as they're just trading damage back and forth, you get to see, right, like, Joey doesn't even do damage anymore.
That's a double Duskblade bot lane. I haven't seen that. I love it. Not working out this game, but I see where your head's at.
A lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's just like, there's not a lot of damage. Like, look at the autos that he actually does, and that's all the champion can really do. Whereas Jimenez will kill Joey instantly and still have enough damage left over to kill Wix at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, he's found him twice now. MNS has onto Joey. There's just not much you can do with ADC life, but twice. And Fake God is stacking up this Meganar. C9 kind of waiting their time. Gonna get MNS on a back here, as he already got his 4th item, but it's just a bit of reservation play coming out as they are still stacking. I mean, they got the 2 dragons now for them. They are really just in a holding pattern until they get to these items and find an overstep from IMT.
Yeah, IMT, they have to be incredibly careful. So their next play, they have to defend the upcoming Baron. If they can pick off someone like Tomio, maybe Fake God off on his side, or even MNS, then that's an opportunity for them to try and pick up this Baron. But they can't just allow Cloud9 to dictate what the next play will be on the map. And Chad, he's hunting for Tomio.
Oh my God, wow. Tomio! Wow!
Wow!
Super secret agent Tomio. That's actually just so big brain. My God.
And then he shows, haha, I was here the whole time.
Hello. Haha. You got to do, it's just that extra little mental edge.
Yeah.
I will just point out a little side thing. I think it is interesting. Cloud9 are looking like vultures on a carcass on the ground, because you have the Elixir of Sorcery for MNS. Obviously a big stamp home. If they win one more team fight, right? They will just end the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, with all the turrets that have already gone down and the inhibitor turret already broken, it's hard to see a way for IMT to kind of come back into this
third
one.
Baron.
Yeah, third. Jeez, I forgot we've already had 2 of them taken already, because they took the first one like immediately. And so we just said IMT, they cannot afford to give another one. That's the damage that is being done to Chad with just 2 abilities coming out from this Vex. It's so hard now. ADD, did he get spotted?
I don't see any pings onto him. This is a predicament.
It's funky. That was 0 damage from the Ace in the hole.
Yeah. That's not a feels good, man. ADD just farming away the chicky nuggies. It will be a Baron started up here for Cloud9. ADD now spotted out. They know he is here. Fake got very close to Megadar, and this is just a fight that INT cannot walk into. Oh my God, but Chad's going in, trying to get Lost. Look at Lost! Lost, you madman! But he's taking up everything! Oh my God! Lost just says, we going, boys, we pulling up, and they going out! Because Balulu taking up a storm can't do anything! That is a clean team fight pick apart by Cloud9, and they're going to find the last member of IMT. Team fight perfection, says Cloud9, and they ace IMTC.
Yeah, the way that we were setting this up, we thought it was going to be so much about Balulu and Jimenez, but it's actually still all about Lost and Zazel. There's no way we can get away from it. They're the ones who are actually starting the fights. It's not Tomio setting it up either. It's just Lost saying, hey, that guy's too far forward. We're going to run at him. I'm faster. They're not going to be able to leave. And we see, again, so many people trying to challenge Lost and Zazel in the bottom lane, but nobody's been able to do it yet, and they carry another game.
And it's not just the fact that you have M&S performing on the mid lane. It is the fact you just have this incredibly dominant bot lane in Lost and Zazel. The fact that Lost is like, I got GA. I'm on 4.5 items. We have them with one fight away from ending the game. We're going to take that fight all day.
Fight. Take any fight.
Literally take the fight. And he did. And he is a Zeri moving forward into 5 members. Chad tries to get the cutoff in behind. Can't do it. But what an incredible game number 1 from Cloud9 Challengers. Really good bounce back within the game. We'll see if IMTC can bounce back themselves. We'll be right back with a halftime show with Deserex.